ask who you are?
Kathleen Kelly. I own this store. And you are?
Joe. Just call me Joe. We'll take these books.
Okay. You're gonna come back, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
See? That is why we are not gonna go under, because our customers are loyal.
They're opening up a Fox Books around the corner.
Fox Books, my daddy?
Likes to buy a discount, but don't tell anybody that, honey. There's nothing to be proud of.
F-O-X.
I've been searching for you here for so long, so long. I've been searching for you here for so long, so long.
Hey, what is happening, everybody? It's your boy Blake Money Blake Weather. Welcome to another episode, Unfiltered Bachelor. Well, guess what, folks? I'm your Unfiltered Bachelor, Blake Money Blake Weather. How's everybody doing? How you doing out there, world? Welcome to 2020. You guys got what the kids call 2020 vision. Was that the biggest dad joke of 2020? I'm sure everybody has gotten that one friend that's come up to you and been like, "Hey, Rob, haven't seen you since last year." And you're like, "Get the fuck away from me, Kevin. Skylar, it's always white people who do this shit. White people and me. I'm a pretty white Mexican. I'm going to do that next. I'm going to do that when I get back to the office. I'm definitely going to be like, "Hey, Denny, haven't seen you since last year." And they're like, go the fuck back home. Get the fuck out of here. Today, we're doing something a little different here in 2020. We are breaking down rom-com videos, and I happen to have an awesome guest. Some of you folks may know her as a lead singeress? Is there a
just lead singer?
Just lead singer?
Lead singeress.
Of one of Austin's favorite bands, Bidi Bidi Banda. Bidi Bidi Banda.
That was good.
That's good, right?
Yeah,
I've seen Selena once or twice.
Nice. I liked it. It was good.
Yeah, we have Stephanie Bergara.
Hi.
Stephanie, how you doing, ma'am?
Good, really good.
Welcome to the podcast here. Well, cheers.
Happy to be here. Cheers.
Well, cheers. Well, cheers, as my people say. Cheers. Oh.
I have some cedar fever, so my voice is a little heavy.
Yeah, no, I've been had
going on.
I've been
You've
had
been
that.
had it? Yeah.
Been had that. Tis no buen, but you know, whatever.
It helps makes my voice sound super sexy. So
yeah, no, yeah, it's got that real like kind of
like raspy. Yeah. I like it. I'm gonna hold on to it for as long as I can, as I can sing.
The raspy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. How you doing?
I'm good. Busy. Staying busy. I feel like I am still living in like November, Thanksgiving, but you know.
Yeah, we've had a few drinks today, getting prepared for this. And I'm happy that you turned me on to this movie, first of all.
Yes. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
It's a good movie. You Got Mail, for those that don't know. Meg Ryan, T. Hanks.
AKA.
Hey, thanks. AKA Tom Hanks. Hey, in case you don't know, yeah, if you put the T and the Hanks together, you get thanks. Hey, thanks, T. Hanks, for all you do with the movie world. One of the best rom-coms.
Yeah, it's my favorite movie. It's like
really, yeah,
hands down my favorite movie.
I'm going to read this off of Wiki. I don't want to take advantage of what they said. You Got Mail tells a story of two people in an online romance who are unaware they are also business rivals. Yep. They also mark the third pairing of Hanks and Ryan, who previously appeared in Joe vs. Volcano and Sleepless in Seattle, which I still haven't seen yet.
I haven't seen either one of those movies. Joe versus the Volcano?
Joe versus the Volcano. Yeah, that was the first movie that they
said that was a Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks movie?
Yeah, they had been in 3 films up until this point.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen
God bless her.
Wait, Tom Hanks? Never mind. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about something else.
Oh,
I was thinking about When Harry Met Sally, but you didn't mention that one.
That's Billy Crystal and Tom Hanks. God bless Billy. That was the first movie I'd seen. Well, obviously I'd seen Meg Ryan and like a lot of other shit, right? But like I watched that movie and I'm like, oh, this is where she starts her rom-com career.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those movies.
When Harry Met Sally is badass. I haven't seen Sleepless in Seattle. I want to probably watch that. I'm sure it might be on Amazon Prime or something. They fucking have everything. Like God bless Amazon.
I'm
Prime.
sure it is.
So we're reviewing this movie because You Got Mail.
Yeah, it's good.
It is the epitome of what started online dating.
Well, you had mentioned that like on this podcast, and I've listened to a couple of episodes already, but you had mentioned that like you wanted to start looking into rom-coms and reviewing those because I know you do your song reviews.
Right.
So I brought this movie up to you and I was like, hey, this is my favorite rom-com movie.
Right.
And it was directed by Nora Ephron, who's like known for doing rom-coms.
Known for doing rom-coms. Yeah. So we start with this
I know a scary amount of information about this movie.
Nora Ephron or just a movie?
Just the movie. Yeah.
Right.
I know a ridiculous amount of information about this movie. Like we were just before you were pulling, you were like, oh, the soundtrack. I'm like, oh, the soundtrack.
Yeah, you're like, also it's the Cranberries. I'm like, in the song, you're like, no, shut the fuck up. Alexa, play the song from the goddamn movie that Blake keeps getting wrong. Oh, that didn't wake Alexa up.
No.
Okay, she's over there chilling.
She's fine.
I'm not talking about the real person Alexa. I'm talking about the goddamn machine Alexa.
If you keep saying her name, she's gonna wake up.
That's
All right. Anyway.
Hey, challenge me. I'm from the hood. Challenge me, Alexa. Break me down. Let's
You
go.
keep doing it because you're trying to wake her up. Okay, moving on.
But this is also, it goes into online dating. At the beginning of when
It's
online
like-
dating was
it's like
a thing.
It's like the first actual mainstream online dating movie. I think
20 years before this shit's like POPPIN popping.
Yeah. And
Before
like,
Tinders, before your fucking Bumbles.
Tinders.
Before the Tinders,
Before the
before the
chicken
Bumbles.
tenders.
Before the chicken tenders
Before anybody was making any chicken tenders.
on Tinder. Hey, before they was cooking up on Tinder. Before they was closing doors on Hinge and opening them too. You know, and before
anybody was any part of any Bumble Hive.
Before it was a part of a Hive on Bumble. Hey, you had a thing called AOL, and maybe you did if you were popping. Maybe you got mail.
Yeah, very that.
But it was so interesting because it's so taboo, and it's still a little online dating. You do online dating. I do online dating.
I do some online dating. Yes.
And like, it's still taboo. I think for some people, like you tell them, like.
Yeah. Some people.
I think there's still some like.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like sometimes you'll hear people like you'll ask, oh, how did you meet your boyfriend or how did you meet your husband?
Right.
Like when they're like, oh, I met him on Bumble or I met him on Grindr or Tinder or Hinge
whatever,
or whatever.
yeah.
I'm like, yes, that for those of us that are like tiptoeing into the online dating world, that that creates super optimism and like it's just the way you meet people in 2020.
It's just the way. It's just the way.
I could talk closer into the microphone. Sorry,
Nah,
I see you moving your levels.
Just ever so slightly.
Yeah. I'll
But it's
get
okay.
back on it.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Everybody's gonna hear you. It's gonna sound grand marveloso. But it does tiptoe into the world of online. It starts to tiptoe in the world of online.
Yeah.
It's not just a rom-com. It also has to deal with like shit that we talk about here on the goddamn podcast, which is online dating, which is kind of surreal as you look back on it because, hey, somebody was excited to get a goddamn email.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like when you go on a dating app and you're like, it's somebody you like to talk to, and you're like, oh my god, they just wrote it.
Like
but in this case, you'd be more or less pen pals for a bit while longer.
Maybe potentially. I mean, like you, like it's just all in how quickly you want to respond.
How long? What's the longest you've talked to somebody on a dating app prior to meeting them?
I mean, the longest.
Yeah. The longest.
Not long. I usually I try really hard to not like
be pen pals, right?
Like, I don't want to be somebody's pen pal. Like
Right.
I have plenty of friends.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking
No.
for Steve across in fucking Michigan.
Yeah. I usually don't wait very long, or I usually like maybe like a day before I like if I realize I want to meet them or I don't want to meet them.
Right. Exactly.
And if I don't want to meet them, I just kind of like let the conversation, dissipate.
Fizzle.
Yeah. But if I want to meet him, like usually, and it's been like a day, I'm like, hey, do you think like that from the line from the movie? Do you think we should meet or whatever?
Right. Yeah.
Because like
Or even what's the longest you've texted somebody before meeting them?
I don't know. Like I've talked to somebody for a whole day before I give them my phone number, and then I texted them. Like, and usually like it's a scheduling thing more than anything. Like it's if I meet somebody on a Wednesday, and by no means am I in like Unfiltered Bachelorette dating pro.
Right. No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I've definitely
yeah.
like just
before
kind
we
of,
put that out there like that.
Yeah. I'm like I don't know any strategies or anything like that to help you find a date. I'm like nothing I'm going to tell you is going to change your life, ladies or gentlemen. Like
no. I think this is to equate it to the movie, right? Because they talk for the whole goddamn movie before.
Yeah.
They
like
end up
for
meeting.
a long, like for
Yes.
seasons, like Christmas, Halloween, all this stuff,
Yes.
Thanksgiving. I'm like, damn, that's a long time.
It's a while. So
Yeah.
that's why I was trying to equate to.
Yeah, but like
now.
so like a day or like usually if I like maybe if I meet somebody on a Wednesday, I'll try to meet up with them like Friday or Saturday.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So usually a few days.
Right, because if you plan something like 10 days in advance, like that could fall apart in so many ways for so many
So
reasons.
I think the longest I've gone is like I talked to somebody for maybe 3 days.
Okay.
Maybe 2 days. And then we exchanged numbers and we talked for like 8 days.
That's
it was
a long
just,
time.
It was just I text somebody for 8 days because it was just a scheduling thing.
Okay.
It ended up being like we met this thing, but like it was right before the weekend. We couldn't meet because me, them, whatever. Also, I tried to like play it off. I can't meet you this day because I'm doing this, but I didn't have a lot of money.
Oh
until like,
that
the
happens
following
for
week.
sure. Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm a guy. Like I got to make sure I pay. So, in all fairness, like that's what it was. But I also would to be entertaining for that long nowadays.
8 days.
I had to do 8 days.
I mean,
of
like if you
things.
look at the I'm trying to figure out the timeline for the movie. So they met in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
They physically met in the spring because they said at the very end of the movie. But like they went Christmas, Thanksgiving, like it was cold outside when they had met online or whatever.
Yeah, it was like fall almost.
Oh yeah, because they talk about the pencils. Yeah. So and like they had just apparently been dating, like seeing each other for maybe a little while. I forget how long they said at the beginning of the movie, but that's like damn near a year, like at least 3/4 of a year.
Yeah, you went through some seasons.
That's crazy.
Seasons
Could you imagine talking to somebody on the internet for like
months,
9 months?
months before you realize who the fuck.
You have to be invested, and your expectations have to be like at an all-time high for
But
sure.
but it's different time. Your expectations have to be exactly. But it's different time and day, right?
Yeah.
It's the late '90s. Motherfuckers ain't really like.
And they're older because they say they like
they were 30. Like they're my age. They're your age.
yeah.
They talk about being in their 30 to 31, 32.
Sure,
33.
over 30s. She says, like, as a joke, I wandered into the over 30s
Yes.
bathroom, over 30s chat room. Same shit, same thing. Chat room, bathroom, same thing.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, whatever you're into. So the film starts off. We have Meg Ryan and Greg Kinnear. God bless Greg Kinnear.
Yeah,
Look at all.
this movie is star-studded.
It's Star
y'all.
Central, right?
This movie is star-studded. There are so many like unique, and we haven't even talked about like the Easter egg golden like co-star.
Nuggies,
Yeah,
the
but
chicken
like
nuggies of this movie.
Greg Kinnear's in this movie. Steve Zahn's in this movie.
Parker Posey.
Parker Posey. The greatest addition that you didn't know you needed in your life is fucking Dave Chappelle. And you've got mail, and he has like a pretty significant role. Yeah, and then also I told you I know too much about this movie, but the woman who plays the checkout lady at the grocery store, her name is Sara Ramirez, and she was on Grey's Anatomy for many years.
Yeah, she played the girlfriend of the guy.
Rose. Yeah, get in another line. Her.
Damn, I can't
She was
believe
on
that
Grey's
her.
Anatomy, yeah, and she's like a really incredible Broadway star, an incredible singer, but like just like so many amazing little nuggets of
I had
people.
a little crush on her when I watched.
She's
Grey's Anatomy.
total babe. You should see her now.
She bae.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
no, God
incredible
bless her.
and total babe. Yes,
And I didn't realize that was her.
yeah, that's her.
And
So-
then has girl from Miss Congeniality.
oh, I forgot. I don't know her name, but like she's the one April 23rd.
Yes, she
She's
was
the
like,
perfect
"What's the
date."
perfect date?" She's like, "It's not too hot and not too cold."
Yes, she was in the movie. I think they're like Tom Hanks' dad. His name's like Dabney Coleman or something like that.
In the movie?
Yeah. The one who's, like his name, the actor's name is Dabney Coleman.
Okay,
I want to say that's his name. But this movie is star-studded. Like, it's so good. And, like, Parker Posey, you mentioned when we were watching the movie that Parker Posey plays the same person.
Same
in
goddamn role,
single
every
movie.
fucking movie.
But she's so good.
Bitchy white girl, but you love it.
Yeah.
You're like, I didn't know I needed this in this movie. Like, anyway, bitchy white girl. Is Parker available?
Yeah.
Can we hire her?
She's so good, and she's such a ringer, and like, I really love seeing her in any movie, but it's totally star-studded.
Yes.
And
to
like,
start off, you see the credits roll, and you're like, they're in this fucking movie for real? So then it starts off,
wait, before we get into that, what did you think about the intro of the movie, about like how it went from digital to IRL?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Like, I just thought
the effects back then.
the opening of the effects. Yeah.
It was really funny because it's like somebody was like, "Hey, we can do some animation on this." They're like, "Yeah, but does it look good?" They're like, "I don't know." Like,
and then the trees are just
Internet,
like
bruh.
the trees are like little sticks with green balls on top of them. I thought it was good.
I thought it was funny for the time.
It's funny for the time.
I think somebody was literally like, "Joe, look, Joe, we can show Kevin.
It's very time specific.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna just do 3D model. What if we?" And the 3D model to them was like a fucking video. It looks like a fake ass video game. It's
well, that's
so
what
great.
people. That's what the internet looked like to people in
That's
1999.
exactly what it looked like, though. It's so timed.
Yeah.
It's so like.
But this
time
is at
specific.
the same time when there was like a grand total of 40 websites on the internet. You know what I mean?
And 38 of them were porn sites.
And the other two were like MapQuest and the foodnetwork.com
Right,
or something. No, there was MapQuest and WebMD. Those were the
And
other-
Ask Jeeves was another one.
Wait, what is the movie with Fandango? This is the other one.
I think there was a Fandango. A Netscape might have been in there. Yeah, there wasn't shit for shit on the real internet.
There's like a grand total of like 40 websites.
40 websites.
Yeah, that people knew about for sure.
35 of them were Playboys and Hustler and porn sites that you try to download Janet Jackson's nudes to that weren't her. Anyways, how do I know this?
I don't know.
Anyways, moving on.
We were on different websites.
The movie opens up to a similar situation for each one of the lead characters, right? You've got Meg Ryan's character with the boyfriend who's very cynical. You could tell he's kind of a fucking nerd. Like he's a late 90s nerd. Is what he is.
He's a journalist.
He's a journalist.
Nerd, aka journalist.
He's a blogger. He's a fucking late 90s blogger. He was
like a, what is it called? Or that nut from the, he wrote for The Observer. Which
He was a writer.
That's the line from the movie. Or that nut from The Observer.
Yeah.
Frank, what's his name?
What's his name?
The one who's so in love with his typewriter.
Literally the line from the movie. Almost word for word.
What nut from The Observer?
Frank, what's his name? Greg Kinnear plays the kind of the boyfriend.
The boyfriend of Meg Ryan.
The love interest. That's not the love interest.
She loves Frank. She's practically living with Frank. Remember?
They're practically living together.
That's the part. That's another line from the movie.
Literally a line from the movie.
Sorry.
So then you go to the same scene though with both of them, right? Like he leaves and she sort of sneakily goes to her fucking laptop,
Correct.
Not even to look at porn, but just to
chat with her internet boyfriend,
just to see if her internet boyfriend wrote her. Yeah. NY512.
NY152.
152. And then she is Shop Girl.
Yeah.
That is her alias on the interwebs.
Yes.
So Parker Posey is the same thing to Tom Hanks. She runs up to him and, hey, babe, we got to do this thing tonight. He's like, I don't really want to fuck. Do we have to fucking go? Kisses him on the neck and he's like, I'm a fucking nerd. You're probably hotter than what I'm used to.
So they're both in established relationships where they're
not completely settled with. They're not completely sure with.
Well, they're not giving 100% of their time to the relationship because in their minds they're like, oh, this internet person who I want to talk to. Yeah.
So, but that makes you think, did they meet this internet person before or after they met this person?
I think they met him after.
Yes. Yeah. I think they met during.
I think that they were both already in like established relationships after they met each other for sure.
Yeah, but they're not completely living together too either, right? Like that's
Tom Hanks and Parker Posey are living together.
That's right. He has to move out of the place. Right? But we'll get to that. Hey, spoiler alert! Watch a goddamn movie before you listen to this.
Yeah, I should see it. If you haven't, what was the movie? It was made like 25 years ago. You should totally see it.
Hey, spoiler alerts, non-spoiler alerts. Like if you haven't seen the fucking movie by now, go to Amazon Prime.
Go see it. Yeah, it's on Prime.
Get your 7-day Amazon Prime on.
It's on Prime.
Go prime up your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the situation where they're both kind of with these people that they're not completely, I think, 100% invested with. Like,
yeah, I think you're right.
They're just not. They're like, I'm feeling you.
They seem bored.
Yes, comfortable. Like it's like, this is it. Is this where I'm going with life? Because when Parker Posey leaves, Tom Hanks does the same goddamn motion.
Yeah, it's literally like the same scene.
Yes, over with the inversed, right? Instead of the girl doing it with the guy leaving, it's the girl leaving and the guy like, instead of looking at porn, he's waiting for the goddamn, you got mail.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's a fascinating thing that these people, they're waiting for, they have somebody in front of them. They have somebody available. They know who they are.
Yeah.
But in their head, and I think a lot of us do this too, in their head, there's this fantasy of this other person, who like this person could be.
That's so funny though. Like we're talking about, this is one of the greatest rom-coms of all time, but like it legitimately opens with like infidelity.
You're cheating, yeah. Hey, you cheat.
Hey, this dude and this lady are both cheating in their committed relationships. Go and go.
And Meg Ryan even brings it up. She says, "Is it cheating?
Is it infidelity if is dating online infidelity or whatever the line was?" Yeah.
If it's cyber dating or something like that, right?
Yeah.
She says something in the words of cyber, and then the girl goes like, "Have you had cyber sex before?"
Yeah. She goes, "Don't do it. As soon as you do, they lose all interest in you." Yeah. Girl. Dropping the 2020 truth bomb.
Damn. Hey, that's still the same on Bumble. Still the same on Tinder.
Very few lines in that movie will like reign true like 25 years later.
Oh,
but
these hold up.
That one holds up
This
for
shit
sure.
holds.
That's funny.
This shit holds
And that's
up.
like that's still information that your mom would tell you. Don't do it. As soon as you do it, they're gonna lose all respect for you.
All respect for you.
Shout out to my mom. Yeah, yeah.
And shout out to the movie, right, for doing like the fan service of like they're walking through New York at the beginning of the movie, and you're like,
yeah. So there's the opening sequence where there's a Cranberry song playing is there's all these Dreams by Cranberries. Yeah. So there's all these scenes in the movie. There's at least 5 of them where Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan are walking to their respective workplaces, and there are instances where they're just feet away from each other. There's a part where they're literally in the same coffee shop at the same time, but they don't see each other. So
they walk by the same flower place. They walk through
Yeah.
the same,
Yeah.
almost walkway.
Which I think is interesting because, like, to jump ahead just a little bit, and we'll come back, but
Yeah.
we can come back. To jump ahead just a little bit, they do the exact same sequence in the movie later, and they're trying to avoid each other. Did you see that
right?
part?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Not to.
I have never. I've seen this movie probably 50 times. I've never broken it down like this, but like all the tangents of things that are just like, yeah.
I mean, we break down the movie, but also break down like how it relates, and I think it goes both ways.
I'm not
right?
gonna lie. Before I came on this podcast, I'm like, how are we gonna fill whatever time you're looking for with the damn talking about a damn movie? But like, we're not even 5 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, no, and we're
Okay.
we're like 20 minutes into the podcast.
Oh shit.
It's
Okay.
great.
So I mean, but yeah. So that's the opening thing, and then like that's when they start talking to their respective like circles about like
they're besties, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then this is a real life thing.
Well, Tom Cruise. Whoops.
Tom Hanks. T. Hanks.
Thanks,
Tom Hanks.
So T. Hanks does not really talk about like meeting a woman online. He doesn't mention that he's seeing a woman online until he and Dave Chappelle are walking to that cafe where they're going to go meet her.
Right.
Remember that?
Right.
So, and I think that that's pretty telling of like the male and female dating experience.
Yes, I was just going to get into this.
Because like if you think about it, Meg Ryan was talking about it immediately.
Right.
5-6 minutes into the movie, she's talking to her coworker about it, and then Tom Hanks doesn't really tell Dave Chappelle's character that he's seeing this woman online until he's just about to meet her.
Well,
but I feel like that's very indicative of like how men and women treat dating in general.
Right. So he's very like keeps us cool about it. He's like, "Why are you so?" He's like, "Nah, everything's good. Everything's fantastic." Anyways, moving on.
I can't think of another time before that when he mentioned it, he was dating somebody online.
He didn't mention it. Like he was like, but Dave Chappelle kind of brings up like, why are you so like you're in a good mood, man? Like what's up with you? And he's like, nah, it's nothing. Anyways,
yeah,
he brushes it off.
Yeah.
Whereas when the girl character, when Meg Ryan's bestie,
yeah,
so to speak, quote unquote, comes up and she's like, what's wrong with you? Like,
and she gives her the
she's
tea.
Like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna give you all the tea.
She drops the
all
tea.
the teas.
And she was like, I met this guy. And then like, just even the way that they communicated to their friends or partners or whatever, like their homies, coworkers, that just the details are very different.
Right.
Because she was like, I met him here. He said this. We talked about this. And like, I always do that to myself. I'm like even me, I'm just like, hey, this guy I'm dating, blah, blah, blah. And like the guy, meanwhile, the guy's just kind of like, whatever, like we're dating.
Yeah.
Are we dating?
What's going on? Yeah. So, yeah, it's very much like that. It's a very much like a guy girl, like, this is how I communicate. This is how what I say.
Oh my God. I just sounded so stupid when I said that.
No. But
we're dating, bitch. What?
But it's very much like that, right? Like, and she even asked her friend, "Is it this? If it's this?" Right?
I just think that women are more detail oriented in that place,
Right.
and women have a tendency, like me as a woman, I have a tendency to place a label on something before, or at least asking questions.
Asking questions about it, yes. Before it even is. And the guys are like, it's just whatever.
And I think that as the like decades go and like dating and like sexuality and equality among the sexes changes, I think that it becomes a different conversation. But I think that this was very indicative of like that time.
Yes.
And it definitely molded my experience. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So
interesting. Yeah. No, but it's a telltale sign of the times too. Like, 'cause she's like, is it cheating if it's this? Because like even back then, it's like, is it like?
Right.
That's a great question. I don't know.
Is it cheating? Is it dating? Is it tucking?
And she's like, no, I'm not going to talk to him anymore.
And she's like, yeah. Then she like,
is that a thing? Like,
well, she kind of very introspectively was like, it's nothing, and I'm definitely thinking about stopping, which will be easy because it's nothing. But like, she talked herself in and out of this thing.
In and out of it, yes.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
So at the same time,
I love how we're both like moving away from the microphone so we can cough and
cough away from it. Cedar fever, bitches. At the same time, not only are these two characters talking to each other online, however, one of them owns a business.
Yeah.
A bookstore business. Meg Ryan owns a bookstore business.
Yeah.
While Tom Hanks's character, you figure out, is opening a huge, like, a Barnes and Noble, if you imagine,
yeah,
bookstore.
So it's a Barnes and Noble. It's a Barnes and Noble versus a Half Price Books, if you will.
Yes, the local guy versus the big shot.
So Tom Hanks's character's name is Joe Fox, and he and his family are the creators of Fox Books, which is the
Fox Books and Sons
Barnes and Noble, if you will, of the time or of the movie. And then Meg Ryan inherited the shop around the corner, which is her mom's store, and they've been open for 42 years.
Right. So it's the little guy. It's the story of the little guy versus the big company, the big Walmart type, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
And at the same time, you realize this. You're like, they can't meet each other.
Yeah.
First of all, they can't meet each other. They're opposites of what. They're from opposite sides of these worlds. Like, yeah, they sound romantic to each other. They're like, oh, it's so sweet. This is gonna be a great movie. And they're like, yeah, oh shit.
Then you realize they're business rivals.
Business rivals. Yeah. And then you realize how Tom Hanks's dad acts, and it's completely different from how the grandpa acts.
He's a businessman in the book business.
Right.
Yeah. And like Meg Ryan's very like.
When he told him, don't romanticize them.
Readers, Dad. They're called readers. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I want to appeal to these people on the 38th Street or whatever. He's like, don't
pseudo-intellectual hippie.
He's like, don't romanticize them. Dad, they're called readers. Like, they buy books.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, son. While the grandpa at the same breath is a very like, it's so funny. This is what caught me in one of the scenes.
Okay.
When the grandpa talks about meeting the mom, Meg Ryan's mom, back in the day, and he's like, I think we wrote letters to each other.
Yeah.
And he talked about the letters. Did you hear the way he talked about the letters? It was just like,
mail. He called it mail. Yeah, he said that Cecilia is Meg Ryan's mom.
Yes.
That she was enchanting, and that she was too young for him, but they might have had a date once or something like that.
Right.
And that they exchanged letters. Yeah.
But he talks about her just being enchanting through just written letters.
He literally has like 6 lines in this whole movie, but I think it's very like he definitely centers the story, and like creates some kind of like nuanced. Like focal point that like overlaps between the two of them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes. And he's, I think like the connecting bridge.
Honestly,
almost.
I think that if that grandfather had not been in the movie and he hadn't had those 6 lines, I think that the story wouldn't have worked. You know what I mean? Because then, then Tom Hanks wouldn't have had that background information on this woman before he went to this
before
tour.
He went to her.
Because how else would he have known that?
He did talk about like her mother and stuff. I heard your mother was enchanting.
Right. Again. Like, this is the internet when only 40 websites. Like, right now, like, if I wanted to look up stuff about you, I could just put your name in the internet and then know whatever I wanted to know about you. You know what I mean? Put your name and then Austin, Texas.
Oh, well, that ain't me, though.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like how else in 1997 or 98, whenever this movie came out.
98, yeah.
Would you have gotten this information other than your grandfather telling you, hey, I knew her mom or whatever.
Right.
So... Yes, so he finds out that the grandfather actually knew the mom and how she owns the store, so and then how the dad is like a businessman in the book business.
Right, they're out to shut. And the reason this comes up is because Tom Hanks is like, the only place I'm concerned about is that the shop around the corner.
Yeah,
and the grandpa's like, oh shit, I might have been kicking it with the grandma back or with the mom back in the day. I don't remember though, but I know we did write letters.
Yeah.
And the way he described, and this is what how I'm going to fast forward. The way he described just receiving a letter, how enchanting it was, how you can tell somebody's personality through a letter. I don't think people take enough time.
He also said she had beautiful penmanship.
Beautiful penmanship.
Man, I'll tell you right now, if I had to like survive by my penmanship alone back in the 1940s, dude, I have the handwriting of a serial killer. to give a nod to what is her name? There's a line from Steel Magnolias, which is another movie you should see. It's not really a rom-com.
Yeah, I remember that a long time ago. I haven't seen it in a while.
So Olympia Dukakis' character at one point says, you have the handwriting of a serial killer. Like, ever since she said that, I'm like, oh my God, it me.
Stealing that line. It me.
It me with my handwriting. So anyway, so he said she has like that there were letters and that this was a different form of communication.
The way that they describe, I think
Yeah.
the way he describes that form of communication.
Yeah.
There's so much that's lost now of that we take advantage of because everything's digital. Everything you see on an app, right?
Yeah.
We don't see each other's penmanship. The most we can see is does somebody's personality come out when they're typing their writing
I have
to you?
dated people for weeks who I haven't even talked to on the phone. I never talked to on the phone. I've only ever talked to him on text.
Interesting.
But I've never like heard that. I didn't hear their voice before.
Right.
And like I just from a dating perspective, I always think it's interesting when someone will just call me. Like they get my number and they'll call me. But like, there's just these different forms of like dating and mediums. Like, you can text with somebody for months and that's the only way you communicate with them.
Right.
Other than seeing them in person.
Yeah.
So like.
But you can't tell their penmanship. Like he was enthralled by her penmanship.
Yeah.
That was impressive to him.
It was an art form back in the day. Back in them days.
And I feel like that's one of the things that's even lost too is how do you put your personality through written text?
Yeah.
Right. I think it's hard.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's an art form in itself. And
now that they're not teaching cursive in the schools anymore, I mean,
these
damn.
motherfuckers we about to get fucked. Is that where we're going to be when Jesus comes back?
This is where you want to be when Jesus comes back.
Not writing cursive.
This is where you want to be when Jesus comes back.
Jesus wrote cursive, goddammit.
Scribble your name on this thing and let's go. But,
write your name on the scroll. Let's go.
So anyway, she they start their business day or whatever, and he's meeting with his family, and has her customers coming in.
Right.
So they cut to, I think the next scene is like Tom Hanks and his nephew. No, his brother and his aunt.
But you don't realize that that's who they are.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I skipped ahead. Yeah, but like, so Tom Hanks interacting with these two kids and spending the day with them, and the kids wanting to go to Kathleen's bookstore.
Yes.
Kathleen is Meg Ryan's character.
I think that's one of the cutest
We should start
scenes,
probably calling
when they do the goddamn carnival.
Oh yeah, that's cute.
It's Frank. It's Frank Hanks. It's Tom Hanks.
Frank Hanks, Tom Cruise.
Frank's, Tom Cruise, whatever. Hey, God bless you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. No,
Beans and Franks, Tom Cruise, all that.
Is there anything cuter than the goddamn Tom Hanks hanging out with these kids? First of all, that's a goddamn
great.
cute
In the fall
scene.
festival, and like, yeah, when they all have the big glasses on and stuff. Yeah, but I think that's really that scene in particular really is like telling of why people love Tom Hanks so much, and why he ever could have even conceived playing like a Mr. Rogers. He's just like, it's just so telling. And like, anyway, I love Tom Hanks and I love that scene in that movie. So he takes the kids to Kathleen Kelly, who is Meg Ryan's character, Kathleen's bookstore for the book storytelling hour or whatever. And that's their first interaction. That's their meet cute, if you will.
Yes.
So he already knows who she is and she doesn't know who he is.
Right.
Yeah.
Just call me Joe.
Just call me Joe. F-O-X.
So then, I think one of the craziest scenes is, and I stopped talking up until this point because I was talking a lot.
Yeah, I was like, I need you to stop talking.
When I was watching the movie, because I watched the movie with you, because I was like, okay, turn me on the movie. Fuck it, we'll sip some wine. I'll watch it with you. Let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
And it was up to that point, I was like, I'm just going to shut the fuck up real quick because I was making little quirky remarks and shit like that. But I do that. First of all.
Yeah, no. And I think that it was interesting. It was interesting for me to watch my favorite movie that I've seen so many times with someone who's never seen it.
Right. Yeah.
So Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan are having their meet cute. They're meeting for the first time. He knows who she is. She doesn't know who he is. So he starts talking, and then the little boy, they said there's a line in the movie where like the nanny has taught the little boy how to say his last name, and it's Fox, of course.
He's learned how to spell it. He's learned how to spell it.
So he's like, he tells the kids, because the kids are kind of starting to like attach on to like, oh, Fox Books, my dad owns, whatever. Right. So he's like, hey, take this book and go over there and don't listen to anything I say. So then he has his interaction with her. Tom Hanks has his interaction with Meg Ryan, and he learns that she knows that the Fox Books is coming and that she's like ready to fight.
He kind of is doing some reconnaissance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a story real quick about reconnaissance. My dad took me when I was like 10 or 11. We went to Dallas.
Okay.
And I was like, this is badass. I've never been to Dallas with my dad. Maybe I was 12 even. I think next Friday had come out. Whatever year that was.
Oh, I don't know what year that was.
I was maybe 11 or 12.
It was like lots of hot pinks and
99.
like baby blues.
99.
Like, so, yeah.
It was 99 definitely. It was a year after
99.
Because you know how I know it was 99? Because in the movie, remember Mike Epps' character says, Tweaky got a new
She know about all the new snacks.
Year 2000 snacks. So this was 99.
When you bite into them, cream filling shoot all in your mouth.
Glitter.
Yes, okay. Oh my God, I
When
cannot
he's
believe I did a
describing-
fucking podcast just
Yeah,
right
when
now.
he's I had to
Okay.
bring that joke
Go
up.
ahead, yes.
When he's describing, she's talking about the year 2000 snacks. So this had to
Yes.
have been 99. So I was 11. I was 11 in 99. My daddy took me on a trip to Dallas,
Okay.
and we spent the night. And we went on a Friday night. We spent the night. Maybe I think that's what it happened. Yeah. Sure. That's what happened. And then we woke up and we went to. I was like, oh, he's like, I'm gonna take you. We're gonna go to the Wax Museum. They're gonna go to Ripley's Believe It or Not, right? I'm like, this is badass. He's like, well, first we gotta make a stop. Okay, Daddy. Whatever we gotta do. So we go to a funeral place.
Oh.
We go to a funeral. What do they call it? Funeral place. Well, I can't
Like
think.
a cemetery? No, like a mortuary?
No, like a
funeral home?
Funeral home.
Okay.
Funeral home where they sell you, your funeral. And he was looking. So he goes in there and he says, "Hey, they're like, hi, how you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm gonna like to talk with you, and see, He's like, Dad's in a bad place right now. God, fuck my dad, dude. I love my dad. But
This is not my podcast. This is your podcast. But does your audience have any context as to why this is not weird that your dad is going to a funeral home for business?
my dad runs a funeral business. First of all, my dad has run
You
a
didn't
funeral
give anybody
business.
any context of that.
Sorry,
You're just
I
saying.
set the joke up before I get there.
Like,
My dad has run a funeral business since as long as I can remember. He's worked in the funeral industry for 33 years. I'm 31. He's worked in it 2 years longer than I've been alive. And the reason I just said fuck that he said my grandpa was dying is because my grandpa actually just died in December. His was dad. But this was back in 99, so dad was really sick back then. We'll get A&R to fix that real quick. But he was like, Dad's really sick. He could be gone at any day. We're just looking for some options as to what can happen. So they gave him he's like, this is my son Blake Stevenson, and I'm his dad Robert. Never told him his last name. He just, hey, just call me Joe. Basically, is what he said when he walked into the funeral place. Just call me Robert, right?
F-O-X. Yeah.
I'm sitting there saying F-O-X. But I'm spelling out Falcon. I'm like F-A-L-C-O-N. Dad's like, shut the fuck up. Act natural. But he went and got prices for him. He price gouged. He went to go price mark these guys using me and my last name because I don't have the same last name as my dad. He pretended he was Robert Stevenson.
It's perfect.
Robert Stevenson's my grandpa.
So savage.
That's my dad's dad, yeah.
So
my dad is
savage.
savage as fuck.
So ruthless.
But he pulled a just call me Joe, basically, moment. If you guys see You Got Mail, he just pulled that moment using me as he used his brother and his aunt that he did. We're both little kids. It's a weird
yeah,
thing.
and if you watch the movie, they'll explain how that happened. They are an American family.
They're an American family. Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing. That's an amazing story.
My dad used me as
so savage, so ruthless. I love it.
That's a funny ass story. But yes, he used me as a just call me Joe type
You
moment.
gotta do some reconnaissance, but I don't even think that he did, like in the movie. I don't even think that Tom Hanks did it on purpose.
I don't think he stumbled into it.
Yeah, and like to be honest with you, like in terms of funny parts of the movie, that's probably the funniest part of the movie. Him interacting with his brother, the little boy.
Yes.
And we were just looking up some stuff online about how some little factoids about the movie. So if you watch the movie, there's an ending part where he ad-libbed it, basically.
Oh,
leaving the store
with the balloons.
Yeah, you have to watch this movie. And like, obviously, if you're listening to this podcast and you've gotten to this point, I hope that you'll consider watching the movie. But when his interaction with the little boy, Matt, F-O-X, is it's a good movie all the way around, but this is the funniest part of the movie.
Let me see.
Because he practically pushes that kid out the door, and like it's just
the scene where Joe accidentally closes the door of Kathleen's shop on the balloons was unscripted. Tom Hanks actually did that and ad-libbed the line, "Good thing it wasn't the fish."
Yeah.
Nora Ephron thought it was so funny that she kept it in.
Yeah.
This is trivia off of IMDb.
Hey.
This is just one of the many trivia moments. If you see the movie, you're like, God damn it.
This is like, I know that like we're on a podcast where we talk about lots of dude things. But in terms of like rom-coms, this is a beloved rom-com, and we'll talk more about this later. But like, I've actually done the You've Got Mail tour in New York City. There's a tour. I don't know if it happens anymore. It's like guided, but I did it when it was guided. We'll talk more about that. So if you want to.
Yes.
So they meet and then they leave and then so I think I'm trying to go like scene for scene at this point.
Yeah. Almost.
But they go to a dinner party, which is when they interact together for the first time. They interact together for the second time, but for the first time where they both know who the other person is.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to take a pause here real quick. That's okay. I'm going to take a pause here because I think this is a good midpoint for 1. 2, I got to refill my drink. So that's what the kids call. We're going to take a quick commercial break.
Okay.
We'll be right back, and you won't even notice the difference.
You know what that hanky reminds me of? First day I met you.
First day you lied to me.
I didn't lie to you.
You did too.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I did not.
You did too.
I did not.
You did too.
I did not.
Yeah, you did too. I thought all that Fox stuff was so charming. F-O-X.
Well, I didn't lie about it.
Joe? Just call me Joe?
Sure.
As if you were one of those stupid 22-year-old girls with no last name. Hi, I'm Kimberly. Hi, I'm Janice. Don't they know you're supposed to have a last name? It's like they're an entire generation of cocktail waitresses.
Look. I am not a 22-year-old cocktail waitress.
That is not what I meant.
And when I said the thing about the price club and the cans of olive oil, well, that's not what I meant.
Oh, you poor, sad multimillionaire. I feel so sorry for you.
And we are back, and I don't think you noticed a difference. If you did, God bless. God bless you. We are back talking about one of the biggest rom-coms of all time. Probably of the 90s, though, for sure. 98, You've Got Mail. How many of y'all used to have AOL? Did you ever used to have AOL?
never.
My dad, I remember.
You know what?
I remember him having the little CD-ROMs of AOL.
I had the CD-ROMs, but I never used like chat rooms. I was significantly more interested in like acquiring music.
Okay.
So I didn't have like, and like I probably started using the internet when I was like, I was born
13,
in 86. No, probably like 12, 13.
Really? Okay.
But I was doing more Napster, LimeWire. Sorry, musicians.
I did the LimeWires. I did the LimeWires. What was the other one? Kazoo,
LimeWire.
Was it Kazoo?
Napster. Napster seemed really dirty to me. I don't know why.
Napster what?
I was like Team LimeWire for
I was
sure.
Team
which
LimeWire.
is probably
Bear
worse. Yeah.
I did my fair share of Bear sharing.
I don't know what Bear Share is.
I downloaded a lot of porn on Bear Share.
Okay.
Moving on.
So I forgot there's a part in the movie before they meet each other where they're talking. Okay, so the whole time, it's worth noting that the whole time that they're having this like very passive aggressive rivalry, they're still talking online and they don't know each other.
Yes.
So before they really meet and know the actual identity of each other, they have one more conversation about. Sorry, I just reviewed the plot while we were on the break. But they have one more conversation about how Kathleen is worried that her business is going to go under.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm an excellent businessman. Let me help you. How do I do this? Right.
And she's like, no. I don't want to give you.
Right. I don't want to give you the details. So then they meet in person and they find out who the other person is at a book release party. Like one of those fancy New York parties where there's food.
Right, but that was
drinks.
funny. So right before that, the Greg Kinnear scene happens.
Oh, yeah.
It is in the movie.
It's a subplot.
It is a subplot. You realize that they have these little subplots where the boyfriend / girlfriend, right? So the girlfriend of Tom Hanks or the boyfriend of Meg Ryan has these little like moments where you're like, they're together. Like you start to get a little bit more character development.
The little idiosyncrasies of like being in an interpersonal relationship
like,
with a person.
Oh, this person is they're just a fucking idiot. Like,
yeah. Well, just like the idiosyncrasies of like when you're in a relationship with a person for a long time or like even a semi-long time, or you live with them or you're practically living with them where you're like, man, this annoys the hell out of me, but I'm already here in it with them. So what the hell am I going to do?
Their interests. You're like, so in this case, Greg Kinnear's character is interested in goddamn typewriters.
Hey, yeah.
Goddamn typewriters.
Yeah.
And he's like
that nut from The Observer. The one who's in love with his typewriter.
But it's so funny too.
Frank something or another
from The Observer, right?
Frank Nabasky. Yeah.
And it's so funny too because like he's anti-technology. He talks about he's like, you know, at the beginning of the movie, he talks about like the goddamn laptop's basically the devil. Like
no, he's like name one piece of technology that has helped us, and she's like, fucking electricity.
He's like
well, there's one.
He's like, well,
Yeah.
well, yeah, fuck. But
so it's a subplot of the movie, and like the tiny idiosyncrasies between Tom Hanks and Parker Posey and Meg Ryan and Greg Kinnear, where they just don't. There's little things that they already kind of creepily don't like each other, don't like about each other.
Person, yeah. So then they make it to the book release party, like you said.
Yes, and then that's when it's one of those parties where like you go and there's like open bar and food and they're celebrating a book party or whatever.
It seemed like a very private house party, but it seemed really like ritzy,
I love parties like that. That's my kind of party
because it had to be caviar there. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. So then that's when the author of the book, who's like releasing book or whatever, tells Meg Ryan, "Hey, that's Joe Fox, FOX.
He's just talking with him.
I can't believe you were talking to him. He's going to take over everything." So then Meg Ryan confronts Joe Fox, and he just obliterates her, and just tells her, he's like, he knows, like, I know how much money you make every year. And then she's like, you're worried about me because I'm the competition. He's like, I'm not worried that you're going to put me out of business or whatever. So then there's this really interesting piece where they're at the like food table or whatever, and they're like serving plates, blah blah blah, and he starts to take this caviar that is like legitimately a garnish from like some, I don't know, it looks like cheese, like or something, pimento, right? Or something like that. And she's like, don't take that, don't take the caviar, that's a garnish. And he like scoops more of it. But it just goes to show how, like, I think that part of the movie really is telling of like how much they like from like on the surface don't get along and how different they are. So
or how one is willing to push the other's button.
Yeah, but another interesting piece of that particular scene is that Greg Kinnear and Parker Posey, the mates of the other two, meet and actually really like each other.
Yes. She's like, oh my God, I loved your piece on blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Yeah.
Of course you remember that.
Of course.
I've only seen it once.
Yeah. So, and then Greg Kinnear,
really?
he's just like, he's very like flattered.
Starstruck, yeah.
So, totally. So then they go to like Tom Hanks and Parker Posey, like going back to their apartment and talking about how,
and
like,
she's still talking about like,
yeah, but just like they're very interesting. So now that Meg Ryan knows that Tom Hanks is her rival and she knows exactly who he is, she's also having these conversations with NY152, who's her pen pal, and she's telling him, what should I do? What should I have said? And like, he basically left her speechless. He left her in the 2020 term. He left her shook at that party because she literally had no comebacks for him. And he's like, I wish I could give you all my comebacks so that you could be bad whenever you needed to, and I could, stay out of trouble. So then she's
but he also tells her, when I do this and when you do this, the thing with this is you're going to feel like you shouldn't have said it.
Right.
You're going to feel like a sense of like like it's not going to be good. Remorse.
Right.
I believe
for sure.
was the word he used.
Yeah. Immediate remorse.
Yes.
Yeah. So then something else happens, but like she decides she mobilizes her audience and the people who patronize her store, and is like, okay, let's do this. Let's start talking about this.
Well, she starts talking with him about go to the mattresses.
They have another conversation. Yeah. She's like, what should I have said to this guy who was an asshole to me? And he's like, go to the mattresses, which is a reference I only know via this movie because sorry, cinephiles, I have never seen The Godfather. Mm-hmm. But he tells her the best thing you can do is not like, this is business. He's like, protect your business at all costs. So she then mobilizes her audience, has all these people come to her, like her aide, has her typewriter loving boyfriend write a story in The Observer. I
like right before this though, how Tom Hanks' character says, go to the mattresses. Mm-hmm. He's got all these Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Oh, all the Godfather references.
All the Godfather references. And she's like, she asked her boyfriend, like, what is, she's like, if I told you to go to the mattress, he's like, yeah, the goddamn Godfather.
Yeah. And we were literally.
Guy is supposed to know. And I guess it's funny. It's reminiscent of like the 90s where I think most guys did know that Godfather. Yeah. I think it's a little bit.
But we were literally watching this movie and you started going off on another tangent about the Godfather. I'm like, I've never seen that.
Because he talks about this is what, he talks about he references the part where, this is the part where they go to the mattresses because this is the guy chopped the head of the horse and put it in the guy's mat. I'm like, I remember this whole fucking movie.
Yeah. I've never seen that movie.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Probably top 3 movies.
It's not a girl movie. I saw Spice World.
The spice of your life. Titties in the front, as they say.
I never saw The Godfather. So the only point of reference I have is from this movie.
I thought it was fucking hilarious though that they make the guys in the movie like the main guy characters.
She's like, do you know what that
and
means?
He's like, yeah,
What
like,
matches
that's what they got.
yeah.
So continue with your point. I just had to bring that up.
No. So cut to this. Okay. So cut to this part of the movie where like Meg Ryan is doing the worst shadow boxing of all time.
She's talking
like,
to Mahona. She's like,
you guys, yeah. So you guys know that like Money Blake Weather does this like MMA podcast and then does this podcast, and he's like, she's doing this worst shadow boxing of all time. I'm like, that's what I would look like if I was doing your MMA whatever rigmarole. That's exactly what I would look like. I look like a kitten fighting fighting itself.
But that's what she's doing, and it's appropriate.
But she's amping herself up for this battle, and like
and it's appropriate because there's so many people in her store.
Yeah, and she's got like little kids picketing like the Vox books. It's a really funny, really empowering moment in the movie where you feel like, oh man, she might take this on. So then all that happens, and like she does she does media interviews, and there's a really funny scene where Tom Hanks is on a treadmill with Dave Chappelle, and she's talking he's talking to Dave Chappelle, and Dave Chappelle's like, hey, you don't feel bad sending her broke ass to the projects with food stamps? He's like, no, I don't. And then he like, there's a piece where like the New York News like kind of cuts his like,
they cut it down to one sentence.
He's like, I always sell cheap books, so sue me. And then that's it. That's all he says. And then Meg Ryan comes on, she's like, I know, I have met Joe Fox, and I've heard him compare cheap books to cans of olive oil. And then Tom Hanks like rolls off his treadmill. It's a really funny line.
He's like, no, I said more than that. They cut me off, those bastards.
So while all of this is happening, Meg Ryan is effectively losing her store. Like she's, there's no change in sales. It's coming up.
I have a conspiracy theory about this.
Okay, go ahead.
I think the old lady was taking stuff off the top.
Explain yourself.
I think that old lady.
She said in the movie later that she was very rich and she didn't need the money. She was rich.
You know why?
She didn't even need to work there.
She was taking some off the top.
False.
You don't have that many people in the store, and what are they just looking around at books and they're not buying any? I think that old lady was taking some off. Was skimming some off the top.
Old lady's name is Birdie.
She's
a bookkeeper and longtime friend of Meg Ryan's mom.
Always the accountant's problem. Hey, who was stealing from Selena?
Her fan club president.
Looking at the money.
That's not an accountant.
Looking at the money.
Anyway, moving on. I'm not going to observe or acknowledge this conspiracy because I refuse to believe that's true.
Birdie was stealing money from the goddamn store.
Anyway, so she's effectively losing her store. It's coming up on Christmas time. There was an interesting piece that you mentioned at Christmas and the scenes of this movie and Christmas is a really integral part of this movie. Like there's a bunch of Christmas scenes. But like in terms of thematic elements, I don't know if it's there, if you can pull it up quickly. So there's a scene in the movie where she's putting Christmas ornaments on the tree. And I just thought it was interesting that like you noticed that she was putting a ruby pair of slippers on the tree. And that led to just another point in the like FAQs or not FAQs.
In the trivia.
In the trivia
movie,
about like how the elements of that the Wizard of Oz played in this movie.
Yeah. So
you have it there?
Let me see.
So I can talk a little bit more about it while you're looking for it. So she has a pair of ruby red slippers. She's decorating the tree that's in her store, and then there's a book. I forget what it's called. One of the Wizard of Oz books that's on Meg Ryan's bed later when she's sick. I'm ad-libbing this because Blake's looking for it, but
yeah. So the film invokes several literary and cinematic references to Wizard of Oz. A full shelf of Oz books on the shelf behind Kathleen when she opens the door for Jessica and Maya. The ruby slippers ornament that Jessica places on the Christmas tree, or that Kathleen places on the Christmas tree. The Scarecrow of Oz book open on Kathleen's bed when Joe visits her apartment. We'll get to that scene. And at the end of the movie, Over the Rainbow plays on the closing scene. A lot of literary references to Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you biding me some time.
But it was funny that you like that was the like.
I did point that out though.
You did while we were watching it, and then you came back. Like I just thought that it was interesting that was a thing that you noted. And there were like 4 other pieces of it in the movie that were noted. I just thought that was interesting. So she is effectively losing her store. There's a huge portion in the middle of this about Christmas and how differently Kathleen and Joe are celebrating Christmas. So all of this said, in the midst of all of this, NY5152 and Shop Girl decide to meet, and they're still talking.
And I like this scene because he's like, "Do you think we should meet?" And she reads the laptop and goes,
she closes.
Oh,
hell no!
Oh no! She's like, "Oh no!" and like closes her laptop, effectively like, "What in the fuck?" Because back then, again, this is still, I think, still meeting people. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you're on dating apps, but even when somebody brings up the point, if it's not done with tact, if it's not done with like you have some sort of, and these two have been talking for months.
Yeah.
If it's not done with some sort of like, okay, finesse, and like, hey, we should meet, and you're like, yeah.
How dare you?
How dare you?
Unmatched.
Goodbye.
I'm just not interested.
You ain't got mail no more.
Oh my God. Yes.
But it was not done with very much tact. It was very much direct.
Very little grace. Yeah.
Very little grace, right? Like, do you want to meet? Do you think we should meet?
She immediately like closes the laptop.
She was like, oh God, no.
Yeah. So she really brushed it off. And this is all in the midst of like the going back and forth and like the shadow box, the really bad shadow boxing, and like the scenes of the kids picketing the Fox books and all that stuff. But they do end up meeting.
And this is one of the funniest scenes.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, they do end up meeting. So they meet at this Cafe Lalo, which I've been to, and I'll talk more about that later.
Right.
Cafe Lalo, they decide to meet. So this is the first time in the movie, as I mentioned before, that Tom Hanks mentions that he's been dating somebody
to his friends.
Yeah, to his friends.
Bromance.
That he's been seeing somebody online and he's about to meet her. So he goes with Dave Chappelle.
And Dave Chappelle's advice is hilarious.
He's like, he's like, you know, what did he say? I do too much, or I
you got to bring it to the next level, so you can run away.
I take it to the next level, and then I take it to the level after that, and then I take it to the level after that, until it's absolutely necessary for me to leave.
So I take it to a level where I gotta leave.
Yeah,
he's like, so you're saying I can leave?
Yeah, it's just really interesting to me how like
the guy perspective,
where he's like, he wouldn't even acknowledge it until he was on the way to meet her for the first time. So,
and I think it's hilarious. So he uses him as a spy.
Yeah. So Tom Hanks sends Dave Chappelle up the stairs to this cafe. Meg Ryan is oblivious. Kathleen Kelly is oblivious to this happening. But Dave Chappelle's like, I hope you don't like that girl, Kathleen Kelly, because it basically is her.
Yeah, he was like, the word he used,
she has the same
color as that girl, Kathleen Kelly. And he's like, okay, who cares? He's like, okay. He's like,
if you don't like Kathleen Kelly,
I don't think you're gonna like her, because that's Kathleen Kelly.
Yeah. And so Tom Hanks basically like put on the image that he was gonna leave Kathleen Kelly. He was like, okay, let's go. Bye.
Yes.
I'm not gonna go in there. So Dave Chappelle and Tom Hanks both leave, and then Tom Hanks comes back and talks to Meg Ryan.
One of the cutest moments of the movie.
It was really cute, but fails to reveal to her that he is actually NY152.
NY152. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's just, of course, like just totally
she's like, you're not
frazzled.
I'm waiting for somebody.
Please
anyways.
leave. Yes. Whatever. Right. So then this like comes to anyway, she is under the impression that Tom Hanks. It's funny because they met each other and they finally found out who each other were at the book party, and then they met each other again at this cafe, and then didn't know who it was. I just think it's really interesting. But all that to say, Meg Ryan, is under the impression that NY152 did not come to meet her.
It's not Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
When Tom Hanks knows Shop Girl is her. She does not realize.
So that's twice. That's twice in the movie. Where he knows who she is, but she doesn't know who he is.
Boom. Yes.
Yeah. So
he's one-upped her.
So I don't know if one-up's the wrong word. Like, I think serendipitously discovered, because he didn't really do anything to get either piece of that. Yeah. You're giving him too much credit.
Well,
don't give that man too much credit. So anyway, we get to the point where Meg Ryan gets back to her house. I think it's the next day, and this I don't know if it's my favorite part.
Wait. I want this cafe scene though.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the most romantic scenes I've ever seen, because he's very much trying to like be finessing, and he's trying
but like also I don't think that he was, because he was
like, I'm trying to give you a compliment,
but he
was legitimately trying to give her a compliment,
but he could have just come out and been like, hey, that's me. But like I feel like but I feel like he was trying to like soften the blow of like bailing on her by coming up with this like bullshit like, oh hey, let me be passively aggressively mean to you but also nice, and like what is this with this book and this flower? Like, bitch, why didn't you just tell her who you were?
Right, now I get it.
I get that it's a movie, but also, like, if you had just told her who you were, I'm sure you could have avoided all this trouble, because, like, we've had a separate conversation about this, about how guys always want to feel like have these sad boy vibes when it's like, bitch, you did that to yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
You.
Oh, it's literally not me, it's you. So anyway, they had this little interaction at this cafe, and Meg Ryan,
She's like, please leave.
Basically it's like, please leave. So she's under the impression that NY152 did not show up. So then she sends him this message, and she's like, listen, I don't know what happened to you. I don't know where you were, but maybe I had the wrong impression. But I just want to let you know that, I hope that this isn't going out into the void. And the these lines in this movie are so they're prolific to me, and it's because I love this movie so much. But she's like, I just want to let you. This may have meant nothing to you, but I just want to let you know that all of these nothings
meant something. To me.
What she said was, she's like, all of this nothing meant more to me than so many somethings.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And I was just like, damn, girl, the truth bombs. That
was a hot. Now that got me. And then the other thing that got me was one of the next scenes where she goes and tells her friend, like, oh, you got stood up.
Yeah. Oh.
So then all of the friends start making up these goddamn excuses.
And then they think that he's the rooftop killer.
Fucking Steve Zahn in this movie.
Yeah,
Again, he's got maybe 7 minutes of screen time.
She's like,
but he's one of the most hilarious. Steve Zahniest characters.
You could be dead. So
but don't girls do that, right?
Oh my God, girls make 5 million excuses for guys.
Like, oh, he's in jail. That's why
oh my God, look, his arms are in splints, and he couldn't text me back. He couldn't call me back. Or I've definitely dated.
Have you gotten stood up before?
Never been stood up before, but I've definitely been lied to in an extraordinary capacity.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, but girls will make excuses for guys, especially if if it's a guy that they even remotely care about deeply. Girls, I mean, I've definitely done it. You make excuses for a guy. You're like, well, he's wonderful and he's amazing and whatever, but he's blah blah blah, but he's this. But all this mountain of things I love about him is there's only this one thing that he did, but this one thing he did was so bad. And that's a whole other podcast for a whole other day about leave after the first lie or whatever.
Right.
But she was starting to make all these excuses for him with her friends, and he. All of this to say, to get back into the movie, he finally responded. It took him a long time.
And it was funny because he started making excuses.
And this was the point in the movie where I was we're watching the movie and I'm telling Blake, I'm like, look at this fucking sad boy. Look at his, look how he's he's sad because of something that he did.
Yeah. And I like how he's like, I was caught in the building and we lost power.
Yeah, and
then we lost phone. And then I was in the elevator, and then it lost power. And
right.
And he's like, fuck, and he erases everything.
But I think that it's a really interesting view into the male psyche of how you do this and why you do this. It's just tell the truth. And he ended up telling the truth. Well, not really the truth. He was just like, I can't tell you why, but I'm so
not
sorry.
Now, at a later date, type thing.
He's like, but I'm so sorry, and I hope that everything works out. So then it just that's the beginning of kind of Meg Ryan's character's downfall, because then after that, her store closes. And man, there's a scene, and I was trying to not show you my white lady tears. I'm not a white lady, but I had the white lady tears for this scene in the movie
when she dances.
Yes, where she's dancing with her mom, and I've seen this movie so many times, but it always makes me cry. Where she's leaving for the last time, and she it's just I feel for me watching that scene is the wave of all of the emotions of having a mom that you're close to, and letting her down, and losing all these memories of this place. And she says this thing where she's the store, and next week the store is going to be something really depressing, like a baby gap, but
baby gap,
to have all these things covered up. So I was trying not to let you see the little tears coming out of the sides of my eyes when that happened, but every single time I see that, it makes me cry. But it was a really sad part of the movie.
To add onto that and make it a little lighthearted, one of my favorite lines was as she's closing the store and it's 40% off, and one of the ladies goes, "We should bomb that other place."
Yeah.
This is first of all, this is pre 9/11.
Yeah, she said that, and literally, I passively was like, "Couldn't make that joke post 9/11." This is a joke you cannot make after 9/11.
I just want to rewind to that before we
should bomb those Fox books. like, what?
Oh no!
Here's the list of things you can't say.
After 9/11, thanks a lot, Osama.
Osama?
Yeah. It's a lot, Bin Laden.
This is where you want to be when Jesus
This
comes
is where you
back?
want to be when Jesus comes back. Bombing a Fox store and Sons.
Fox books.
So yeah, it is a very emotional moment. I looked at it and I was just like, God damn, it's a very touching.
Yeah.
It's a very touching moment, though.
Yeah.
To come back to that.
So it just like that's a super special part of the movie, and then like there's a later part of the movie when he's like, you can't forgive me for this tiny thing of what is it, like shutting down your store, or tiny thing of putting you out of business. We'll talk about that later, but like just the resolve in me, like I couldn't forgive anybody who put me out of business, and he made it seem like it was a tiny thing. We'll come back to that part.
Right.
So anyway, her business closes, so then Joe Fox goes to see her at her house where she's sick.
I'm glad you're describing this because I do remember. I've only seen this movie once.
I know, so I'm trying to go back to the plot lines to make sure I don't forget anything.
Right.
So excuse me.
This is where the movie gets cute.
Shop around the corner goes under. Kathleen's employees move on. Christina goes job hunting. George gets a job at the Fox bookstore, and Bertie retires. Kathleen takes a break to figure out what she wants to do. Well, she ends up writing children's books. But before that happens, she gets sick, and then Joe Fox starts to realize his feelings for her.
Well, and I think it's cute even before this, right? Like right before this. Let's set this up.
Okay.
Let's set this up. Parker Posey saying, "Oh, that Kathleen girl.
Oh, yeah.
She's out in the workforce.
Yeah.
We want to hire her to write books."
And she's like, she has impeccable taste. She's famous for it.
Right. She writes these children. She knows children.
Yeah. And
She
like
does.
trying to give her jobs. And like I feel
And
like
they build that character development when she goes to, I think, probably go look for Joe.
Yeah.
At the Fox bookstore once her place is closed. She goes to the Fox bookstore. Goes and
Oh
looks
yeah,
for
that's
Joe.
a really sad part of the movie.
Yeah.
She doesn't go to look for him. She just goes into the Fox bookstore.
Go look around.
Yeah, because she'd never been there
And
before.
she ends up in the child's
Oh my
department.
God, that part where the shoe books. Yeah.
And she's like, I'm looking at the shoe books, and one of the employees, and she had even mentioned, she's like, they don't know books like we do. They don't know things like we do. And like it shows because one of the Fox employees is like,
Who's the author?
yeah, who's the author?
She's like, Noel Stretfield. Yeah.
and
yeah.
he's like, okay, how do you spell that?
Yeah, and then she spells it for him. Yeah.
But she describes the whole book series.
She describes, and I think
ballet shoes,
that
fucking
moment,
skate shoes.
that moment really describes what her store
Her
offered.
passion.
Well, what her store offered that Fox Books couldn't offer.
Right.
Is that customer service, that service piece, and like that piece of like, hey, I want my kids are gonna go to this place that they really love, as opposed to this big box bookstore.
Right.
You know, where the fucking sales guy's gonna have to have the name spelled for him or whatever.
And doesn't even know what the fuck you're talking. He
Right.
didn't know anything.
But I just think that that's it's interesting that they waited till the store was already closed.
right. This was the last. This
To
is
give
third
that
act.
to the
Yeah.
audience.
This is third act right now.
Yeah.
This is the start of the third act right here. And Joe's witnessing all of this. He's seeing all of this happen.
And I think that's when he realizes that, oh my God, I have actual feelings for her.
Yes.
Yeah. So then that's when Joe starts to fall in love with
So
Kathleen.
Parker, his girlfriend, Parker Posey's character, she's like, well,
She's a
obviously,
piece of work. She's a goddamn piece of work.
she's a goddamn American hero right there. Her.
I like her.
I do. You need a sassy white girl that like is clumsy and shit.
I'm not friends with a lot of white ladies, but I'd probably be
I'd
friends
be friends
with her.
with Parker. I'd be friends with Parker. I used to have a crush on Parker Posey. That's probably
Oh,
would be
okay.
friends with her. Not anymore. I
There's
don't.
a scene in in the movie too. Oh, we missed this part, right? Yeah, right around the scene. Right, this I guess we didn't miss it, but right around the time when Kathleen goes into the Fox books and she starts like giving all this information about the stuff that she knows about kids' books. Parker Posey and Tom Hanks go into an elevator.
Well, that's what I'm building to. So they get
sorry,
out the
go ahead.
taxi, right? Like, or they get out of the taxi. Yeah, it's a taxi.
Oh, you're right, and that's what she's talking about.
She's like,
wanting
we
to
wanna
give
hire
Kathleen
her.
Kelly
We
a
want to give her
job,
a
yeah.
book deal. She knows kids' books. So they get into this elevator
And they're talking. Yeah, they're talking
and they
about
chatting it up like some chatty Cathys. And the elevator gets stuck.
Yeah. The elevator gets stuck with Tom Hanks and Parker Posey, and then the doorman for the elevator.
And then there's
And
this
some other lady.
There's
Yeah.
this other lady who has her dog, and you can tell she's just kind of like, I'm walking my dog tonight.
Yeah.
But I'm a little.
It's like a rich-
she's got a
rich
little
lady.
ritzy to her, but like
Yeah.
she's just like, I was just really trying to walk my dog.
Yeah. So they're in this elevator. The elevator gets stuck. They're trying to figure out how to get out. Tom Hanks ends up calling the security guy to call the super. And then
Parker has a fucking breakdown.
well, yeah.
Parker
So
Posey
the reason the reason Blake's telling you about the dog lady is because she initiated the conversation where she's like, if I ever get out of here, I'm going to start talking to my mom again. I wonder what she's doing right now. And then the bellman, the door guy, is like, if I ever get out of here, I'm going to marry that girl that I love.
propose to the girl, yeah.
What am I waiting for? I love her. And then Parker Posey's like, if I ever get out of here, I'm having my eyes lasered. And then Tom Hanks goes, if I ever get out of here, then Parker Posey interrupts him and she's like, where are my Tic Tacs? Ah! So then
so prissy.
the next scene is Tom Hanks with his dog Brinkley, and they're
walking to the ship.
They're walking to his yacht.
This after she had this breakdown. Like I think the moment for him was he's on the phone. He's calling the super. He's being nice as fuck too. He's like, no, just put the super. I get it. Like we're stuck in the elevator. Just, no, put the other guy on. No, we're gonna get this. And she's like, get me the fuck out of here.
She's like, if you don't get him down here in 2 shakes. Yeah, but like I think the best way to describe what happened, or Tom, like he really described it really well when he was like, I was in an elevator with a man for 2 hours who knew exactly what he wanted out of his life, and I don't know what I want out of my life. So Brinkley and I moved out.
Yes,
Brinkley's the dog.
Tom
has a dog.
God bless. Brinkley, he likes to eat bagels and pizza off the sidewalk.
And Tom Hanks prefers to buy them. I have never seen this movie before. So they move out. That's Tom Hanks and Parker Posey breaking up. Oh, also we missed the part about Greg Kinnear and Meg Ryan breaking up.
Right. So at that same time, and it's so funny, Greg Kinnear, Meg Ryan going to the movies and she goes to Birdie's once the place closes down.
Oh yeah.
And Birdie describes how she was in love with a general who overtook
Generalissimo Franco.
Generalissimo Franco.
Yeah.
Who overtook Spain for a little bit.
Yeah.
As a fucking dictator.
Right. And then so that's the catalyst for like Greg Kinnear. I keep calling on them by their names. Frank and Kathleen going to the movie. They're going to see a movie, and they're having a fight about whether or not there's legitimacy to the Birdie story.
Right.
About whether or not she actually dated somebody who ran Spain. So then Frank says it's not true. Kathleen's like, she's a very special person to me, and he's like, well, she's crazy. So
also,
then
I could never date anybody that's not politically.
He's like, I could never date anybody who doesn't care about politics as much as I do. So then Kathleen is like, I have to tell you something. I didn't vote.
I didn't vote.
The last time we needed to vote, I went and got a manicure, and I didn't vote. Right. So then this all leads to kind of the unraveling of their relationship. So they go and have they end up not sitting through that movie and going to have wine.
Yeah.
And him being like, I don't love you. And her
like,
being like, I don't love you either. And then as it turns out, Frank's dating a girl that he was like on a TV show with.
That TV show scene, first of all.
It was really good. Yeah.
That was...
Thank you.
One of the most... So as they go through the whole... If you rewind real quick, ladies and gentlemen, you go through the scenes of where she's trying to like be activist for her own bookstore, and she's getting, Frank on her team, and he's writing these articles. He goes and he does... what is it? He said the Jefferson has a Jeffersonian characteristic about it, and like it's like, what in the fuck are you talking about?
But it's funny because he ended up getting some credibility for her plight and her like issue that was going on. He's the one that ended up getting called onto the television show or whatever for writing this story for her and about her. So anyway, all of that to say, they ended up breaking up, and that was actually before Tom Hanks and Parker Posey broke up.
Right, that's right.
Right. So
so they're single now. So
they're both single now.
They both sing.
So there's a really cute. It's not funny or anything like that, but there's a really cute scene in the movie where Tom Hanks finds out that Meg Ryan is sick, like she has a cold.
Right.
So he goes to her house and brings her daisies, and there's a part of the movie. This is significant.
Very early on.
Yeah, where Meg Ryan meets Annabelle, which is Tom Hanks's aunt, and Meg Ryan Annabelle sneezes, and Meg Ryan gives her handkerchief.
And she says, "What's a hanky?" And she's like, "It's a very special napkin that you never throw away.
A Kleenex you never throw away." Yeah. And then she's like, "This is mine. It has my initials and a daisy because that's my favorite flower, and my mom made it for me."
Right.
And and this is when, to be honest with you, I feel differently as a 33-year-old woman than I did as a 22-year-old woman when I was watching this, because at 33, I'm like, fuck Tom Hanks. You know what I mean? Like, how are you going to like be a sad boy about some shit that you did?
Right.
But now, like, then this is when I start to like feel like I'm on his team again, because he goes to her house. She's sick. He knows she doesn't have a job. He brings her daisies, which he remembered she loved
remembered was her
daisies.
favorite
And she's
flowers.
like, it's so cute. It's like, there's no other way to put it, but she's like, I love daisies. They're the friendliest flower. Don't you think daisies are a friendly flower? And like, he's sitting there listening to her and what she's got going on and what she's going to do. And like, it's so funny because she's just kind of like cute, angry. She's like, I have a lot of things going on. I got a lot of stuff coming up. You know, you don't even know. I got a job offer from whatever.
I thought one of the cutest moments even before that was he's trying to come up and she's like, don't want to come up. I
have
got
a temperature.
cold.
Yeah.
And like some neighbor is coming upstairs and they're like, you want to come in or what? He's like, yeah, fucking I'll go in. And then she's telling him all these things of why he shouldn't come up. And all of a sudden he's like, knocking. He's knocking.
And she has to put all her Kleenex.
She's like, whole. Yeah. And the cute thing was she cleans her whole goddamn apartment of Kleenex. She puts on a fucking trench coat and she answers the door. Right? She answers the door. And she's ready to kick him out. And then he's also like, do you want to put these in water? Like, what are we doing? Yeah, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? Like, he's playing it so, like, finesse, so cool.
Yeah. No, I think it was a really interesting moment. And, like, it was interesting to see like, at that point, he really actually had feels for her.
Yeah.
And she was, like, at her sickest. And I gotta say, like, I think that it's interesting when a man or as a person who's dating, and like, you know, I'm perpetually dating right now, but as a person who's dating, to be at your sickest or to be looking your worst, and to see like like when a man is invested in that, like even if you're sick, he's like, I just want to see if you're okay.
Right.
I just like, he's like, I don't really care. Like, you know, I think that that's very impressive. And I think that like, I know that it was a really passive scene in the movie, and it was just like another interaction that they needed to have. But like from a perspective of a woman, and like even like she started to soften once he got there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's like, I don't want you here. I don't want you here. And then when he got there, she was like,
fuck. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for being here. So anyway.
And then he starts to drop hints.
Yeah.
That he might be, was it NYC 152?
I don't think he was dropping hints at that
think
point.
he was dropping hints.
I honestly don't think, I think she was oblivious until after the hot dog restaurant.
I think he started dropping hints. I thought he started like dropping like, I think he started dropping I'm paying attention hints.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I'm paying attention, like, and because even when she was like, I met this guy and he's like, let me guess, on the internet. And she's like,
oh yeah. But I don't think those are even hints. I think that
I think he's subtly, it's like To Catch a Murderer type shit. And he's like, I'm dropping little hints that you're either going to get him or you don't. And if you don't, I'm still going to get away with it. And he's starting to drop serial killer hints.
Okay.
Not his serial killer, but like he's starting to drop hints that like he wants to be caught. He wants her to know that it's him. This is where he starts to do it.
Okay.
So I mean, replay the scene. I'm gonna say, ladies and gentlemen, replay the scene. Watch that scene. Watch the movie, but then go rewatch that scene and make a judgment call for yourself. I think this is a moment where he starts to decide. I want to admit this is. I'm ready to admit this is me, even though it might not be here. I'm ready to do this. He was starting to formulate a plan because the next scene is, she's like, I think we should meet, and he's like, yeah, I'm working on a project though.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I forgot about that. And the project that he started, he knew what he wanted to do the minute that he was there at her place. I think the minute he even left, like he knew what he wanted to put in motion to be like, I am doing all these things. So his plan was, I'm just gonna hang out with you till you get familiar with me.
I think that at this point something interesting happens about the movie in that they become genuine friends.
Right.
They become friends. They trust each other. There's trust there. And like she's number one, she's still oblivious. I think I don't know if she's like,
she is still oblivious, but he's trying to slowly be like, here's some sugar in your drink. And she's like, what the fuck am I?
Yeah, I think she's still oblivious, but
one thing we missed too, that they start to do now, we missed earlier, is when they were not friends, they were avoiding each other, like just like you were talking about.
Oh yeah.
When they were not friends earlier in the
talked about it briefly.
First or second act.
We talked about it briefly, where I was like, hey, they were missing each other. Now they're avoiding each other. But yes, to that point, once she knew who he was and he knew who she was, they were legitimately like, she would like put flowers in her face, and he would like
put the newspaper over his, like,
to avoid each other. So yeah,
which leads to one of the scenes in the movie before we get to the ending. was it Zara? What is it? The Zaha? What is that grocery store?
Zabar's.
The
Oh
Zabar's.
gosh, I forgot all about that scene.
We're gonna talk about. So once we get into the movie, I want you to tell me about your tour. But the Zabar's, when you get to the point where the girl from fucking Grey's Anatomy is in, but where she goes into the cash only line.
Yeah, I forgot about this.
They're avoiding each other. They both see each other.
Yeah, they're avoiding each other.
They're both avoiding each other.
No, she's avoiding him.
Oh, that's right.
She's avoiding him. They're in Zabar's. So Zabar's is a grocery store in New York City on the Upper West Side that is like super old. It's been there forever, but they have really delicious coffees. And I'll talk more about how.
And this was one of the first movies. This was the first movie to be allowed to be filmed in Zabar's.
Right, and I'll talk more about how I know this in a minute. But Meg Ryan is avoiding Tom Hanks in the Zabar's. And finally, it's all this avoidance finally catches up with them because they end up meeting at the cash register, and Meg Ryan is in a cash only line, and she has no cash. She has $1. She has $1, and she's like, I'm sorry, I have $1. And then like Tom Hanks kind of comes to her rescue, and the cashier's name is Rose. He's like, hi Rose. I'm Joe. And she's like, I'm Kathleen. And
he's so charming in the movie.
And the guy, oh my gosh, he's so
fucking
charm
charming.
the pants right off you. So Meg Ryan,
I'm about to take mine off.
The guy behind Meg Ryan is like, and I'm Henry.
He's like, hello, Henry.
Yeah, and like he does. Tom Hanks does this really hilarious condescending thing to Meg Ryan where he's like, do you need some money? She's like, no, I do not need money. But anyway, he ends up all of the avoiding of each other and like culminates with them actually seeing each other at the Zabar's, which I will explain my love for later.
Right.
But
it's one of the best scenes where you start
really
to see the turning point.
Yeah.
Of like, he's genuinely like he's actually genuinely a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Because he looks like an asshole when he does the caviar shit.
Right.
Yeah. So
and he placates. He admits he placates up. He's like, I was this. I said some things that I shouldn't have said.
Yeah.
He admits everything to her.
Oh, there's another part of the movie at the very end where he does that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I like that he kind of admitted to her, even though he didn't know he was admitting to her. He's doing confession.
Yeah.
He went to confession, and he admitted all these things.
Yeah.
Right. He's guilty. He's like, it's on his conscience.
Yeah.
And I love the part of Zabar's because for me, it's that point of like, it's a reconciliation of like, I know it's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I know that I'm charming though. I know it can get you out of the situation.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it.
Well, I think it actually shows how the rest of the world sees Joe Fox.
Yes.
Compared to how Meg Ryan sees
Compared to
him.
how she sees him. Yeah. Because once he leaves, she's like, the Rose is like, ugh. She scowls. She scowls back at her. She's
Sada
like,
Ramirez is like, no, bitch. Yeah. He's like, so pay already. So go already. Henry in the back is like, so go already. So sign already.
So I had to bring that point up before we get any further.
Excellent point.
The avoidance, that part.
Yeah.
Now we're at the point where they actually
they build a friendship.
Want to hang out with each other.
Yeah.
And she's telling him about, well, he wrote me this. He's like, he's married.
Yeah.
He's married.
Yeah.
Like,
so there's two final scenes in the movie. There's two things in the movie where like they're talking and like they're meeting different cafes on the Upper West Side. And she's like, he asks, he's like, what is his username? She's like, NYY152. He's like, 152 moles that he's had removed. And she's like, 152 people who think he looks like Clark Gable. And he's like, 152 people who think he looks like a Clark bar. So
he goes, maybe he named it after his address. And she's like, no,
nobody would do anything that basic.
Yes.
Is what she said. And he was like, bitch, what?
And he looks at her like,
yeah. So all of this culminates with a scene at the end of the movie where two scenes, like the semi-ending of the movie where Tom Hanks is like, he walks her back to her apartment and they're talking. He's like, in
a different life.
And I really don't think that this is even like, this was my one like hang up that I had about this movie. One thing where he's like, how could you forgive this guy for standing you up? How could you forgive this guy for standing you up and you can't forgive me for this one tiny thing of putting you out of business? I'm like, bitch, those aren't even the same things. You put me out of business. Fucking with my money is like fucking with my emotions. Big Worm.
Big Worm.
Shout out Big Worm.
Shout out Big Perm.
Shout out Big Worm. Are you kidding me? You put me out of business. He stood me up. Those are two very different things. So that was my one hang up with the movie. And then she was just like crying and I'm like, come on, white lady, Like that was the one, even as a young person, I was like, why are we doing it like this? So basically he was like, the only, if I hadn't been Fox Books and you hadn't been the shop around the corner.
He does talk about, he's like in a different world, in a different universe.
Yeah,
like,
I would have taken you out to dinner and we would have done this and we've gone to see a movie and gone to have coffee, and the only thing we would ever argue about is what movie to rent on a Saturday night. And and we could do this for the rest of, for as long as we both shall live. And then like
for as long as we both
she weeps and like walks away and stuff. And like he leaves her there and she's like, I have to go. So then she gets ready. Oh, all this to say that they decided to meet at this park, Riverside Park, which I've also been to.
Okay. He does ask her. So in the meantime, while he's meeting up with her as a friend. Yeah, in the meantime, while he's meeting up with her as a friend, they meet at cafe. They meet at from Starbucks to like another cafe to what do they call that? Where they have where they do it on Saturdays at fucking Burger Center.
Farmers market.
They have to go to a little farmer's market even. And they have these conversations. In the mix, it's cut in with emails of them emailing back and forth. And it finally gets to the point where he's like, can I meet you on Saturday at 4:00?
No. They didn't talk about that part. Like she talked about that with Joe Fox as she knew Joe Fox.
Right. No.
Like, where are you meeting? She's like, Riverside Park. There's a place in the park where the curve bends and all this stuff, right?
Right, but he finally gets to that. And but he had asked her before
you're
that.
Right.
He had asked her, he said, can we meet over there at around like lunchtime?
Yeah. This is Joe and Kathleen.
As their friends.
And my wife have 152
right,
shop.
Not at their online personas, but in real life personas, they're starting to be like, hey, we're friends. Like we're a guy and a gal friend and we're having a good time.
Yep.
When their online personas are going to meet the same day. So he does this like like low-key love profession type thing. Like he professes his love and like it's like whatever. And but I think he knows to like whatever. I'm going to see her later anyways.
Yeah. Like that's another thing where I'm like, you smug bitch.
You smug
So anyway, like, so all of that to say, Meg Ryan like has a new dress on, comes out of her apartment, new dress, goes to meet this guy at Riverside Park where the curve bends. And all of a sudden the dog pops up and like Tom Hanks is yelling, Brinkley, where the dog meets or the dog's going. And she realizes that it's him the whole time.
Because he said Brinkley.
Yeah.
There's a lot of telltales.
And then he goes up to her and is like, don't cry, shop girl. And that's really cute. And she goes, I'm sorry, I'm giving away the end of the movie. Is that okay?
No, it is. It's a spoiler alert.
She's like, if you haven't seen it, you need to fucking go see that movie already. It's 25 years old. He's like, don't cry, shop girl. And she's like, I wanted it to be you. I wanted it to be you so badly. And then they make out, and that's the end of the movie. And like some Over the Rainbow comes on by Lyle Lovett. I think actually it doesn't. But that's the end of the movie. That was my one hang up with the movie, is where he's like, how could you forgive him for standing you up and you couldn't forgive me for putting you out of business? I'm like,
B.
Are you kidding me? Are you trying to act like that's even the same thing right now?
You fucking my wallet.
That's my money. Do you know how expensive it is to live in New York? Because I do. So anyway, that's the entire movie. I think we probably talked as long as the movie is.
Yeah, fuck it, YOLO. But you did before we go to our final thoughts.
Yeah.
You did the goddamn tour.
This is my favorite movie of all time, and I go to New York once a year. It's my favorite place. Okay. I go once a year, and when I first started going, my best friend lives there now. Before he lived there, I was just going to like hang out with people and meet people and like hang out with people I knew. So I took one of the first times I ever went to New York. I went on the You've Got Mail tour, which is so cool. It's so fucking cool. It was the guided tour of like all the places. So they took us to Shop Around the Corner, which is now like this was like 20 years ago at this point. No, it wasn't that long. It was like 15 years ago, but it's like a zipper shop or something now. And then like the Fox Books was an actual Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble, yeah.
We went to Cafe Lalo, which anytime I go to New York, I still try to go to Cafe Lalo. And then Zabar's is my favorite grocery store. They have delicious coffee, and there's a restaurant there where you can go get like little like tchotchkes and latkes and stuff like that. It's really good.
The latkes
are delicious. Yeah. So I go to Zabar's. I drag my friends there to the Upper West Side. I don't know anybody who lives in the Upper West Side, but I always go there whenever Jay-Z, I'm in New York. Probably. I don't know if that's not Jay-Z vibes. Like it's a little too chill for him.
Yeah. Maybe
not. It's not cool. It's like West Austin. Like nobody like old people and teenagers live there. So anyway, I always go to Zabar's. It's my favorite grocery store in America next to H-E-B. Maybe, but like
see
it's like people with young kids, like there's and like it's definitely become very commercialized, the Upper West Side now. So anyway, I really love that part of New York City, and like I've gone multiple times at this point, and I've gone on the tour, and I've been that nerd who is just like at Riverside Park.
you got male nerd, yeah.
And like when I was doing it was before like iPhones and stuff like that, so it was just like taking pictures of my BlackBerry, which are incredibly ugly and all that. So none of those exist on the book. Sorry, none of those are on the IG. But yeah, it was a really fascinating experience, and like everyone wants to have that experience with their favorite movie, whether your favorite movie is like The Empire Strikes Back or Scarface, like
right, yeah,
everyone wants to go and recreate those moments. So I've done that.
I've done a Breaking Bad tour. That was the most I can equate to what you're saying.
Was it fun?
Yeah,
I've never seen Breaking Bad.
It's all shot in Albuquerque.
Oh, cool.
And so you get to tour on like a little RV.
I love Albuquerque though. Yeah,
Albuquerque's a badass place. But yes, that's the most I can equate this to.
Cool. Okay.
Is being on a tour like that.
It's fun, and you can still do like a self-guided You've Got Mail tour.
Okay.
Like there's like internet steps where you can do it, and like I'm going to New York with my mother in 2 weeks.
Are you gonna try and go?
I mean, my mom doesn't love You've Got Mail as much as I do, so I mean, I don't think she'll be as interested, but I definitely want to take her to Zabar's.
Okay.
Just to get like
at least 1 or 2 places. Zabar,
like New York
Zabar's,
breakfast or lunch.
Cafe Lolo or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Cafe Lolo would be fun. Lalo or Zabar's, because we have a whole bunch of things planned. So anyway, I'm going with my mom to New York, and I'm definitely going to put her in some You've Got Mail situations.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Hey, Mom, you got mail too.
Hey, Connie, you got mail.
Hey, Connie, you got mail. Shout outs to this movie, though. It's very, I don't want to say ahead of its time, but it holds up because it's applicable to now.
I think so. And like, I think that like the general apprehension about online dating and the like taboo nature in which people talk about online dating is still relevant.
It's still applicable then, and it is now. When they talked about that goddamn have you cybersexed? Don't do it because they lose respect.
As soon as you do it, they lose all respect for you. Not that I would know, but it's just funny.
We've all been there.
It's just, I mean, it's just funny because like people talk about it, like, and like the advice is still the same.
It's still
like,
applicable.
Don't do it. Don't sleep with him on the first date. So I mean, I love this movie. I think that it's still relevant, and like it's funny how it became relevant again with Bumble and Hinge and like Grindr culture. I think it's really interesting.
It's super applicable, and it's super the introduction of what online dating culture was, how it is. It's super cool to see how it is now.
Yeah.
But see where it started from, like.
Started from the bottom.
Started from the bottom. Now, hey, if your parents haven't been married longer than 20 years, guess what? They might have met on AOL.
Yeah.
Hey, they might have got mail too. I think my dad was using fucking AOL to meet chicks. Probably.
Is
back
that
in the
how
day.
you met your stepmom?
He at least probably talked to her.
No. I listened to that podcast with your dad.
Yeah, no, they didn't meet on AOL. They met through a group of friends.
Okay.
And she thought shit of him. And then they went to go dance one night. I went to go pick her up, and all the friends didn't go. So it was just them two.
Oh, so it was an accidental date.
It was an accidental date.
Nice. Okay.
And so she was like, this isn't a date. We're just hanging out as friends. But he's very much like me. We're like, even if that happens, even if like some girl's like, oh, you're just friend?
It's still a date.
Oh, okay. Whatever you say. Right? Because you don't know how I dance. You don't know how I am. Yeah, you ain't got a taste of the old, you know what I'm saying? Let me split some. Hey, shorty, what's your name?
This is so stupid.
I'm T-Pain. You know me, type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It runs in the genes, type shit. And but yeah, they maybe they chatted on AOL. But what I would love about this movie is the dial-up sounds.
Oh yeah.
Type shit.
Okay.
That shit throws me back. That shit is a throwback to.
Okay.
Kids nowadays take Wi-Fi for granted.
Yeah.
They ain't know fucking what dial-up sound. And if somebody called, hey, guess what? You ain't emailing your boo.
Yeah. I agree with that.
You ain't emailing your boo.
I'd agree with that. Okay.
So shout outs to AOL. Shout outs to the online dating.
Shout out AOL. Thanks for keeping it real. Thanks for holding it down for all of
us
us virtual daters. Thanks for holding down for the virtual daters.
Chat. Have you ever met anybody through like the before we get off? Did you ever meet anybody through Yahoo chat type shit back in the day?
No, I think I was too young for that. Excuse me.
No. I was younger than you. I'm younger than you. I used to meet people through like Yahoo. Whether they were who they were is a different story now that I think about it.
I don't think I've ever met. I don't think like
I never met nobody, but
Well,
talked to
I mean-
people.
I mean, talk to yeah.
ASL, age, sex, location type shit.
Excuse me, Jesus. Of course, I know what ASL means. I think like I chatted with lots of people, but also I was in kind of like non-dating, non-sexual, just like silly girl chat rooms. Like I was in like in sync fangirl chat rooms. I wasn't like trying to date nobody.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was very like pure in that regard.
Oh, I guess I was just one of those horny teenagers.
I guess so. I mean, I wouldn't know anything about that. You're older. I'm older than you, but I wouldn't know anything. I was just trying to like figure out how to meet Justin Timberlake. What the hell do I know? So, I didn't really. And then after I got out of high school, I like dated a guy in high school. And then after I got out of high school, I was in a serious relationship with someone for 5 years. And then like by that point, like there was no in between of like AOL and Bumble.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just kind of like trying to do it the hard way.
You meet people in real life.
Yeah.
IRL as a kid.
I meet people in IRL, and that kind of sucked. And then I had a baby. I have a little boy.
Oh.
I hadn't talked about that yet.
Shout
but
out to that.
Shout out, little boy. Hey, baby. I had a baby, and just kind of like I had to like kind of jump back into the dating scene after I separated with my son's father.
You do the dating apps and shit like that, right?
Yeah, I'm doing some dating apps. I think I have Hinge and Bumble on my phone right now.
Hinge and Bumbles.
Yeah.
The new school versions of the You Got Mail AOL.
Yeah,
universe.
but like now that I have like this iPhone with like pictures on it and stuff, it's like, damn, like whenever I have any notification at all, I'm like,
It's like You Got Mail. You're like,
And then you get that like notification from a guy with like the cheesiest pickup line ever, where he's like, "Your lips should meet mine," and I'm like, "Is this where you want to be when Jesus comes back?
Is this where?
This where you want to be when Jesus comes back?
Dropping cheese.
That's the best you can do. That's the best you can do."
Thanks. Well,
So
next.
anyway,
thank you. Next.
like hashtag true story. Your lips should be mine. Your lips look like they should be mine. That's the best you can do. That's where you want to be.
That's where we're gonna be when
Jesus
Jesus comes back. All right.
Okay.
Well,
Best
you
of
know
luck.
where I want to be when Jesus comes back? Watching You Got Mail. Tom Hanks, Parker Posey, Greg Kinnear, Meg Ryan. It's a great movie.
It's a good movie.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Stephanie, for coming on and breaking this down.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Shout yourself out.
Oh,
Let
okay.
people know where they can find you. You
Yeah.
obviously have a band, Bidi Bidi Banda.
Yeah, you
Let
can
people
find
know
the
what fuck is
Banda.
up.
You can find the Banda on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then it is January of 2020. It's the 2020 experience. So later this month, you guys can see my actual podcast. Hey,
Right, you're dropping a new one.
yeah, I'm
Yes.
dropping a podcast called Nessia by Nature. It's kind of based on like just the people who are in my life and people who I've experienced their joy and who want to tell me about their joy. And yeah, it's gonna be really fun. You can find me on Instagram at Nessia by Nature Pod, and then you can find me on Twitter at Nessia X, like South by Southwest, Nessia X Nature Pod. So those episodes, our first episodes will be coming out later this month. We're super excited about. I am super excited about it, and yeah, it'll be fun.
In case you're wondering how to spell Nessia, N-E-C-I-A.
N-E-C-I-A, Nessia, and Nessia like basically means like stubborn by nature. So, and it's also a play on obviously that amazing 90s hip hop crew.
Right,
So,
naughty by nature.
Yes,
Shout outs to all of that.
Yeah.
But
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. You can find Bidi Bidi Banda on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, right?
I have a show tomorrow, and I hope that I can sing after all this because I've effectively lost my voice talking about fucking Meg Ryan.
This is horrible.
It's fine.
We hope for the thousands in attendance, the
I'm gonna have
millions
some.
watching at home that doesn't happen.
Did you just Michael Buffer me? You just Michael
The
Buffer
fact that you knew who that was.
Hey!
For the thousands watching and the millions watching at home.
I know who Michael fucking Buffer is, okay?
Are you ready to rumble? About to get sued. Can't finish that statement. Everybody go follow Bidi Bidi Banda. Go follow Nessia by Nature. Stephanie Bergara. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Follow Unfiltered Bachelor while you're on the Twitters and the online world. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Unfiltered Bachelor. You can follow me, Wendy Blakeweather, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Everybody, I hope you go and watch You Got Mail so that way.
Wait, you actively promote your Snapchat? You let people see your Snapchat?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't have to follow them; they can follow me.
Okay.
Yeah, I want subscribers. Follow me so that way I can get like the fucking people that give you money.
So you can tell people about Squarespace?
About Squarespace. Sponsors. I can get sponsors. Enough of you follow me. Enough of you fucks follow me on Snapchat. God bless everybody. You just follow the Instagram story. Fuck it. Yellow. You only live once. Shout outs to everybody. Whether you're tuning into this morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're doing this, watch You Got Mail. Check out this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll keep pumping out episodes like this throughout the year. Welcome to 2020, bitches.
Bye.
We'll see you later. Peace.
You know, sometimes I wonder.
What?
Well, if I hadn't been Fox Books, and you hadn't been the shop around the corner, and you and I had just met.
I know.
Yeah. I would have asked for your number. And I wouldn't have been able to wait 24 hours before calling you up and saying, hey, how about some coffee or, drinks or dinner or a movie? For as long as we both shall live.
Joe?
And you and I would never have been at war. And the only thing we'd fight about would be which video to run on a Saturday night.
Well, who fights about that?
Well, some people. Not us.
We would never.